Good morning. Good morning. How's it going, everybody? Nice to have you with me on this December 11th morning. Big day. It's the day. Remember, a couple weeks ago, I mentioned the date of December 11th. And many of you reached out to me and asked me what that date was all about. A response in the Telegram channel with regards to that, but we covered it in great detail with our members because we were looking at the charts of Bitcoin, and based on the structure that was being created on the daily time frame, we came to a date of December 11th being the do or die date. And it was everything leading up to that date was telling us that there was going to be a major breakout on Bitcoin on December 11th. Well, today's that date, so we're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin a little bit later on. But first, I want to go through the major headlines today and take a look at what is affecting the market this morning and get you guys prepared and ready for the opening bell in about an hour. Okay? Good stuff. All right, so let's start. First, we have the NASDAQ. Interesting, okay? Remember I was telling you yesterday that the NASDAQ was leading the index with supply in play. And so today you see the headlines, right? Right here. NASDAQ leads drop in U.S. futures. Did any of you see that this morning and think, oh my God, that is just crazy? Because Kevin was saying yesterday morning that the NASDAQ was the only index with the supply zone in play. Any of you think that? I hope you guys did, because that was, pretty crazy. Like I always say, tomorrow and next week's headlines, I give you them today, because when we look at the markets and we see the institutional zones coming into play, we know with a high degree of certainty what the move is going to be. And so we know before the headlines report it. U.S. seizes oil tanker. That's pretty crazy. Did you read that this morning? I haven't looked at that or read the news on it, but it would be a curious thing to look at oil right now and see if there's any reaction. Not much. A move to the downside. And that's an interesting move because for quite some time there has been an institutional supply area that has been in play right here. And so with supply being in play, we should expect a move to the downside, right? Another thing is, I've been mentioning this to students, there's another chart that we've been looking at, USO, and that has been very, very clearly bearish with major supply in play here on the higher time frame, okay? So we suspect that over time there's going to be a push to the downside. Now, I was telling members, I said, you know what, I'd be very curious to see if the assets being, or if the money being traded on this asset has any type of influence on the actual price of oil. Not sure. I don't have an answer for that, but I am watching this one because at the time, oil did not have any institutional supply in play, and this one did. And so I said, well, it would be interesting if we started getting institutional selling on USO and all of a sudden selling started coming up on oil. And that's exactly what has taken place. So when we look at oil, we see that we have monthly chart is bearish, okay, with supply in play. Weekly chart is bearish, okay, because it too has supply in play. The daily chart, we don't have any type of major zones here, okay? But longer term, medium term, bearish bias when it comes to oil, okay? All right. So that is that. Oracle stock sinks. Okay. This one's a good one. Remember yesterday? It was before earnings, right? Earnings came out, when was it? Yesterday after hours. Remember what we were talking about when we were looking at Oracle? We were talking about how this major institutional demand area was taken out, which tells us that it's weak, okay? Selling is taking place more than buying. And so, we also were looking at the weekly time frame. We could see that this institutional area of demand has been removed. Okay, so look where price is now, $193. We closed at $223. Okay, so if any of you were considering at any point buying Oracle, this would have been telltale signs here. Very clear telltale signs that you should not have been buying Oracle, okay? Because when the banks remove their buying areas and they're focused on selling, something is up, okay? This is profit taking, all right? And then more selling here. Something is up. Did they know? Who knows? Maybe they do, maybe they don't, okay? But really mixed bag. Look back here, very negative numbers, and look at the rally. How would you get a rally with negative numbers, right? Well, what would retail be doing if they saw negative numbers? Probably selling. And then the banks are doing what? Buying. Okay? And then they take profits at the highs. Why do they take profits at the highs? Because after it's rallied this much, then at the highs, this is where retail traders get in, okay? And then that's where the banks offload. And then they offload and they offload and they offload and they offload all throughout here. And by the time we're here, they've offloaded the majority of their position, and now we get the gap down. Now people are going to be freaking out. So if I was a buyer, I would not be buying here. I'd be waiting for new demand to come in, because right now, looking at the charts, there's no nice looking institutional demand zones for price to retrace to. So I need them to create new demand. So if there's no new demand, I stay away from it. Lilly's next gen drug drops, okay, for weight loss in trial, LLY. Let me see. I haven't looked at this stock for quite some time. Let's see what they're doing here. Big move. Big move to the upside. I'm not seeing anything really juicy in terms of institutional demand. There are some demand areas on the lower time frame, like the daily, but like the only thing I'm really seeing here is this area here, okay? But there's been, somewhat some imbalances up here. This is way too far up from the highs. I would not be touching this one. No, no. Look, we have an imbalance here, but this one's not. This is not in an area where we would be interested in buying. Same thing with the weekly time frame. We have an area here that I'd be maybe keeping an eye on, but nothing really decent there. So I would pass on that. I only like to look at a chart and see the chart showing me an ideal situation. If it's not ideal, I stay away. Companies are just now tallying the hit from the U.S. shutdown. Investors say Musk's SpaceX debut will be craziest IPO ever. Ooh, I didn't know that. Are they going to debut? What's Gammy? The heck is that? Gammy B Gaming. Anybody know what this is? Never even seen that. Why would they list that? But are they coming out with an IPO for SpaceX? That'll be crazy. That'll be something to be watching for sure. Gemini gets key CFTC sign off as firm eyes prediction market. Let me see this one. Gemini Space Station. Gemini Space Station. Interesting. Don't know much about it. I'll move on. Oops, not what I want. There we go. Oracle wows. Okay, so we looked at that. Bitcoin dips below 90. Here we go. This is the big one. This is the big one I want to talk to you guys about. So let's take a look at what's going on the chart of Bitcoin. Here we are. Okay, so let's go over the charts and put our biases on each of the time frames, okay? let's keep things into perspective here. On the monthly time frame, we have a bullish bias. Okay. On the weekly time frame, it is neutral. Okay. No bias. Okay. Because we have price just sitting sideways, not doing anything. Now, right now, on the daily time frame, we have a slightly bearish bias. And the reason why we have a bearish bias is because there is an institutional selling area that we have on our chart right here. Okay. And as you can see, price has contacted this selling area right now. Okay. So as price was reacting to this monthly area of demand, we were getting bullish signals down here. Okay. With the RSI gaining speed. First it was weak, second time was weak, third time was strong right here, falling in between the 36 and 44 RSI. We got the rally, which surpassed the previous high, which is to be expected. But then bam, we smack right into that daily area of supply. I'm fairly confident that if this daily area of supply was not here, we would be getting a massive move to the upside like this. Okay, fairly confident. But this daily area of supply is bringing a different element into the mix here. So monthly's still very bullish. Weekly, we have to wait. Okay, daily, we're looking for a bullish signal to provide the momentum to get price up towards this area of supply on the weekly time frame. Because ideally what we want is we want to turn the weekly chart bullish. Okay? That's what we want. We want the weekly chart to become bullish. For that to happen, price needs to rally up to this area of supply. Okay? This area of supply needs to be removed, and there needs to be new institutional demand created. Once that takes place, then this chart becomes bullish. Okay? But that hasn't happened yet. For us to get there, we need for the daily time frame to become bullish. Right now it's bearish with supply in play. Now the reason why I picked the date of December 11th, 2025, which I had mentioned to you guys before, was because we have this descending trend line here. Right, well, let me do it a little bit thinner. Right here. Oops. Right here. Okay? And within this descending structure, price was rallying up, and because there was an institutional supply there and the descending trend line, what would typically happen, okay, if the banks wanted to push price down, they would use this daily area of supply to do that, okay? All right? If they wanted to push price down, they would use the zone to push price lower, and they'd be using the selling from the daily supply zone to help facilitate the move lower. Okay, because remember, this was sell orders back here. Price is coming back in, and they're filling in those sell orders that were not filled in from this area here. Okay, now they could have removed those sell orders and caused price to rally up, or they could react from that supply and fill in sell orders and cause price to go down. So there's two options here, okay, that will play a very, very significant role in what's about to happen. Because if they continue selling from this selling area, then this monthly area of supply is under attack. Okay, that means price retrace into a big institutional buying zone, and instead of them accumulating a position, they're starting to dismantle this demand area. Okay, so we're going to be watching this daily chart very, very closely today. If there's only one chart you should be looking at and you're a trader of Bitcoin, it's this daily chart, because it'll tell us everything we need to know. We're at December 11th. So far, we are getting a bullish candle. but the day is not over yet. This chart still has 10 hours and 12 minutes until this candle closes. If it closes bearish, it's not a good sign, okay, for Bitcoin. Now, does it mean that this monthly demand zone is going to break and price is going to drop? It doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen. It slightly favors that happening, but it could be something different, okay? It could be that what just finished happening, all of this, that was a very bullish sign, okay, the RSI momentum shift, showing buying taking place at an institutional demand zone, is just put on hold. And so we could get some type of a price action that continues within this monthly demand zone that is more neutral, okay, until something bearish or bullish is created. So I'm going to be watching this one. It's very interesting. Today is the day. We need to see a big move today. I believe the big move that's going to happen today is going to tell us what is going to be expected from Bitcoin in the next several weeks. I hope it's a bullish candle because I've already positioned myself long. I'm still in that position. I hope it turns around and gives us a very strong bullish candle. But if it doesn't, that's okay. We will continue to manage our positions. And if it stops me out, then you know what? It's not the end of the world. I'll just wait for the next signal and I'll get in. I was a little bit presumptuous that price was going to rally without that daily supply zone being removed. But with all these bullish signals, okay, with all these bullish signals here and here, and this one beginning to form, I said, you know what? This is looking good. I'm in. All right. So we'll wait and see how it plays out. If we take a look at the 4-hour time frame, we can see that institutional demand was right here. This is that very important demand zone that I told you about, because remember we had price sitting in a range right here. Okay. And then it broke out to the upside, breaking through supply, creating demand. Now we're inside that demand zone. So there could be a really nice move to the upside, or this zone can break. If the zone breaks, then that means price is dropping on the daily, which breaks the buildup of the buying that the institutions have been doing within this monthly area of demand. And then we could start coasting sideways within this demand zone and wait for a bullish signal or a bearish signal. Or price could just start rallying off this area, produce a bullish signal on the chart here, break through that daily supply when everybody's starting to short at the descending daily trend line, and then this thing rips up like there's no tomorrow. That's very, very possible. Okay, so watch for that today, guys, because that's going to be the big chart for me. And the trending tickers, well, we took a look at coin GM. What is GM up to? Any questions on that? I saw interest rate were cut, but little movement. Yeah. Can Bitcoin go up and Dixie go in the same direction? December 11th is D-Day. 94K is monthly floor pivot, so a lot of orders on it. Yeah, we'll just continue to watch. GM, look at GM doing extremely well. Woo, beautiful. Yeah. And let me give you some upside targets. I'm looking at this chart. I'm seeing big institutional demand coming in here. Yeah, yeah. We don't know the highs yet of where this is going to go to. But I can tell you big institutional demand here. If price was to ever come back to 53, I'd be a buyer there. That'd be a great area to buy right here. So let's just mark that up. Okay. Monthly time frame took out a major institutional supply area. And we got, it looks like a zone on the lower time frame was created that removed that. Let me see. It was removed. No. Price retraced before the move took place. Okay. Yeah, it looks like this is going to continue higher. So, you know, in a situation like this where Price is breaking out from demand, and it's in the process of creating a significant buy zone. The only way to get into these suckers are on lower time frames. You see what I'm saying here? Look, here was institutional demand here. See how price retraced to the institutional demand? Look how close this one was here. Okay, very close. Let's look at the daily time frame. The breakout happened at $50 right here. The breakout. Look at that. I just found it right now. Look at this, guys. It's unbelievable. There was an institutional supply zone right here, a key one, right there. Okay. And look at the institutional demand zone that removed it. Okay. Look at that. Look at that. Perfection. Unbelievable. I wasn't watching this chart at the time, but there you go. There would have been the perfect entry right there. New demand being formed here. Retracements to demand zones. And then get in, because this is likely going to go higher from what I'm seeing. So I'm just taking you through the Sherlock analysis process right now. I'm just going through it in my head and talking out loud with you guys so you can see what I'm seeing here. Let's take the move that they made here. Institutional buying, and use that to figure out how high they could take price right now. Let's make sure it's accurate. Yep, that's accurate. And let's do that. Oh, no, that's not what I want. Target. Here we go. Target. Okay. Okay, short-term target, meaning if you're going to be trading lower time frames, that's what you'd be targeting. Okay, there. So if you're trading daily demand zones, this is where you're aiming for. That could produce a really nice return right here. Right here is where I suspect price could turn over and start heading lower. So I would only be trading these shorter time frame zones with that target in mind. Okay, this could be a good one. I'm going to keep an eye on this one. Let me add this one to my trending watch list. It looks like a good one. What do you guys think about that? Adobe, ADB. Big institutional demand coming into play again. A lot of ups and downs with this one. Doesn't know what it wants to do, so I would pass on it. And MSFT. What do we see here? Oh, yeah. Remember I told you it was hitting our higher time frame target? Remember? Okay. What I say, what happens when higher time frame targets are hit? Profit taking on the stock is taking place, so you got to be very careful, right? And so take a look. Lots of bearish price action taking place off of here. So I wouldn't be a buyer of Microsoft as well. And on the weekly time frame, look at that. Big supply zone created. So I would not be going long unless that area got taken out at least. All right, folks? All right. Very good. That was fun. Thanks for joining me today. I think you're good to go. I think you're set for the day. Keep an eye on Bitcoin. That's the big one for me. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this one. Today's the big day. All right. Very good. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you soon. If you want more insights, come to our Telegram channel. The link you can find on the bottom of our website, whiteoakfx.com. Thanks. And again, if you enjoyed today's session, hit the like. I appreciate it. You take care. Enjoy. So long.